Tom, some accuse the county of spending and raising too much money in the past. Are there any decisions you would have made differently to save money?
I would not have done the wheelage tax. I believe that $5 wheelage tax is going to be more than that in 10 years from now. I think the county will look at that and say that's an easy place to pick some money from. I think they've gone after homeowners. Admittedly, the state has cut us off pretty heavily, but when I look at my state taxes, they haven't gone down. So we need to either get more money from the state or figure out how to make our budget work better.
Thank you, Tom. Chris, raising and spending money, anything you would have done different?
Well, I've heard it mentioned in my opponent's literature that we have a spending problem. And part of the thing it's a little frustrating for me is I've talked with a lot of people that work at the county, and I understand budgets have remained either stagnant or have actually been cut since 2002, 2003, with some minor increases in some areas. But there haven't been any enormous budget increases. With respect to raising money, we've had a couple of large levies, 10, 10, and 9.3 consecutive levies that were at or around 10%. And that's a difficult thing as a taxpayer to swallow. So I don't know that I would have done anything different.
Okay, thank you, Chris. Chris, this next one goes to you. Let me just catch up with myself here.
Okay.
Where can the county improve operations and do more to collaborate with other agencies?
Well, as a county, I think 2003 initiated the scale group. And Scott County Association for Leadership and Efficiency. Some ideas have been mulled around that organization. We need to research the practicality of some of these ideas. When you, for example, buying gas in bulk, is this something, if you buy gas as a commodity, that you can have an appreciable savings? Is there a risk involved? Is there, obviously, there's going to be a capital outlay for something like that. You know, we need to do cost-benefit analysis and those sorts of things. There's a lot of ideas being floated around like that, working collaboratively or collectively. I would like to see perhaps more work between Dakota and Scott. I know we do a little bit in the area of plowing on the east side of Scott County. Beyond that, you know, just keep meeting at the scale group and keep floating these ideas and looking at the practicality of those ideas.
Thank you, Chris. Tom, improving operations and collaborating with other agencies.
Well, we need to look at every way of saving money that we can, whether it's through police and sheriff's departments working together. I know they work together a lot now. Maybe they can do some more things together. We have some parks that are sitting empty right now. Maybe we can contract those parks out and open them up. We have to do everything we can to save money. And we're outsourcing some things now that maybe shouldn't be outsourced. And you know, maybe we can look at some other things that can be outsourced and save some money somewhere. But we need to do what we can to save as much money for our citizens as we can at this point.
Thank you, Tom. Tom, it looks like the current economic conditions won't be improving much in the near future. What should the county do to adjust?
Well, we're going to have a tough time. This position is not going to be easy here as a commissioner. We're in a cutting mode. We're not cutting ribbons. We're cutting spending at this point. And we're going to have to look at everything we can, because I'm hearing at people's doorsteps that their assessed value is maybe 20 or 30% higher than they could sell their house for, so they believe they're getting overtaxed. We have to look at everything and magnify every single expense we have out there. I know we have a hiring freeze on, but we're going to have to do as much as we can, because the state has cut us off of dollars, and we're taxing as high as we can, and that's we're going to have to cut. We're not in a spending mode at this point.
Thank you, Tom. Chris, adjusting for the economy?
Well, much of what we do in the county, I would say 75 to 80% of it is mandated, and I don't see succeeding in doing a lot of cuts in those areas. So that leaves some pretty sensitive areas for people, like parks and trails and libraries and the niceties that make this area especially nice. We need to probably retool what we're doing. There's different levels of service we can provide, and maybe rethink what level of service we're providing, and if we decrease that a little bit in the area of human services, or perhaps the Sheriff's Department needs to stop doing lockouts, and perhaps we need to look at technology. And as much as I don't advocate this type of thing, maybe people can make minor theft reports via the internet, as opposed to having a squad drive 40 minutes, the southeast quadrant of the county. There's a lot of ideas that we can float around and think about the practicality of them. Sheriff's Department typically writes property damage accidents. They write a rather lengthy form that's basically a courtesy. They're not mandated to do that. Perhaps they can just show up and ensure nobody gets hurt, and these people can work it out amongst themselves. I mean, there are ways to save money, but we are truly, in my opinion, based on the homework I've done, we're at staffing thresholds right now. And I don't see that cutting staff in mandated areas is even an option at this point. And now you're looking at, without retooling the way you do things, you're looking at cutting into libraries and parks and trails. So.
Thank you, Chris. Chris, is there any place that you feel the county is overstaffed or understaffed?
Well, with this, there's no more building, and I don't know what the planners are doing now, and there's probably a time there where we're going to wait out the economy and see what's going on. I can't say with any degree of certainty tonight from this podium that we're overstaffed in those areas. I don't have the benefit of knowing what they're doing for numbers right now, but I would suspect that it would be reasonable to conclude that those might be two areas we're looking at.
Thank you, Chris. Tom, areas where the county is understaffed or overstaffed?
Well, I'm going to agree with Chris on that, and I've heard from a number of people that when the building boom was on, we had 37 people in the building and inspections area, and now I believe there's 35. Don't quote me on that, but our building and permitting is down about 80 or 90%. So to have that many people still there might be one place that we should look to cut.
Thank you, Tom. Tom, do you support the county's pay for performance program?
Yes, I do.
Elaborate. Okay.
Well, I will say that, yeah, just like teachers should be paid for performance, if somebody's doing a great job, yeah, give them a raise. Otherwise, there's no incentive for somebody to do a lot better. Absolutely.
Chris, pay for performance.
It was quite an undertaking that the county achieved. I think it was in '06 they went from a seniority pay system to pay for performance countywide. It's hard to disagree with the concept of that, and if conceptually or theoretically on paper, if it's done right, it should work. The answer is I agree with it. I was impressed when the county was able to convince all their unions to agree to that, and I think it's a step in the right direction.
Thank you, Chris. Chris, what will you do to reduce taxes?
Well, my daughter told me if I didn't know the answer to her question, I'd use big words. Sound like I know what I'm talking about. I'm sorry, Ellen. I don't know. I don't honestly know if that's a realistic goal at this juncture. My goal coming in would be to maintain our current level of service and not raise levies or taxes beyond the point where they're at. And just, especially in the next year or two, I truly believe we're in survival mode and hunker down mode. And we've spent, as I understand it, the last 4 or 5 years really tightening our belts already in light of some stuff that's been happening in the state. And so now we're getting precariously close to some market deficiencies in our performance here if we're not careful. So I think it's unrealistic to say, at least in the short term, that I'm going to cut taxes.
Thank you, Chris.